Good evening, Norman, and welcome for your Friday edition of Norman News. Thank you for joining us.
Kings, queens, knights, lords, and ladies have invaded Norman's Duck Pond. The 21st Annual Medieval Fair begins today. We'll take you there and tell you all about the scheduled events.
And a local mid-high school is preparing for a big change. Norman Central Mid-High School will soon be known as Longfellow Middle School. We'll have the details on the change.
That and much more headed your way right now on Norman News.
Well, good afternoon, Norman, and thank you for joining us. I'm Jennifer Don.
And I'm Chris Engel. A gathering of characters from the past are jousting and feasting at the Duck Pond this weekend. The 21st Annual Medieval Fair got canceled this morning. I think it'll start this weekend. Norman News took a trip to the fair, and this is what we found.
We worked really hard to get here from Lubbock just to set the tents up in time for the rain last night. Not much happened today.
So how did you get the notification that this was canceled today?
Drove up. They wouldn't let us in. If we can get it going like tomorrow and stuff, it'd be really great.
Admission to the Medieval Fair is free, but here's a list of the events. Today it is canceled, but it will resume tomorrow and Sunday. At 12:30 p.m. tomorrow, a chess game at Gryphon Stage. At 1:30, there'll be a costume contest also at Gryphon Stage. On tomorrow and Sunday, there will also be a jousting tournament at 3 o'clock on the jousting field. And a grand procession begins at 3:30 on Saturday and Sunday, and it is also on the jousting field. And at 4:30, there is a knighting ceremony at the Royal Pavilion. So Norman Mid-High students are preparing for a final farewell. Central Mid-High will close its door for the last time on April the 22nd. Norman News' Heidi Self has more on this story.
After 23 years, teachers and students of Norman Central Mid-High School are preparing to say goodbye. After this school year, the school will be known as Longfellow Middle School. Teacher Sandranelle Behan says the change takes a lot of work.
As we move closer to the end of the school year, we're consumed with getting everything out of our rooms, getting everything packed up and gone, deciding what we're going to do next year, what we're going to teach, and all of that. So it's time to let go, and this is our way of letting go.
A Norman Central sophomore says some things will be missed.
Friends, being separated from friends.
Behan says that some of the students will go to the new Norman North, while others will go to Norman High. The students will pass through these doors for the last time, May 22nd.
We're connected, and we'll always be connected, and I think that's probably the part that we're all going to miss the most, is that sense of family. And it's not that you can't create that sense of family in the new places that we're going to, but it'll never be quite the same.
Principal Dr. John L. Jones says she's glad the historic building will still be used.
So we're very proud that the system still needs the old Central and that they'll maintain this building for even longer.
Central Mid-High will hold a farewell celebration this Sunday afternoon. Heidi Self, Norman News.
Well, Dr. Joan also invites the community to take part in the farewell ceremony to Central Mid High this Sunday afternoon. Central Mid High's Central Celebration will take place on Sunday, April the 13th at 2 p.m. through 5 p.m. at the school. Everyone is welcome.
Timothy McVeigh's sister, as well as several of his friends, are on the prosecution's final witness list for the Oklahoma City bombing. 327 witnesses are on the list, including 100 who will testify about telephone records that could tie McVeigh to the Ryder truck and some bombing components used in the bombing. McVeigh's sister, Jennifer, has told authorities about her brother's interest in a novel that described a plot similar to that used in the Oklahoma City attack. Meanwhile, as of Thursday, 56 people have been questioned as possible jurors. Among those questioned yesterday was an airline pilot who lost a friend in a terrorist attack. Also questioned was a woman who described herself as a witch and who said she would be reluctant to impose the death penalty.
Oklahoma's prospering economy and work emphasis has drastically cut the state's number of welfare recipients. Oklahoma now ranks 5th in the nation among states showing decrease in welfare caseloads, showing a 40% drop from 1993 to 1997. Currently, the state has around 87,000 welfare cases, which translates into about 32,000 families. The Department of Human Services hopes that by July, the number will drop to 30,000 families in need of welfare aid.
Well, that weather outside sure just isn't cooperating with that medieval fair.
It sure isn't. It's rainy, it's dreary, everything is really wet outside.
Kyle, I think, is in the Weather Center. You can tell us a little bit more.
What do you think?
Well, those thunderstorms did roll through last night, bringing us some cooler temperatures for today. I'll have a look at our snow chances later on in the show. Back to you guys.
Well, controversies in the Governor's Plain and the GOP will return when we return to State News.
And if you suffer from food allergies, we have some information you will be interested in. Stay with us.
When I was living back in California when I was 4 years old, there was a really large thunderstorm outside, and the lightning was so spectacular, with so much thunder, that I knew at that moment that I just wanted to forecast the weather. So as we moved across the country and we encountered different areas of weather, I just fell more deeply and deeply in love with it. And now I have the pleasure of bringing the weather to the Channel 48 viewing audience.
I see him! This is not a drill. Roger, have target in sight. This is what we do. Swimmer away. Every day in the Coast Guard. Battling the elements to save lives is just one of the real missions we tackle.
Swimmer checking victim. Coming up.
Be part of the action in the Coast Guard. Call now toll free.
Get ready!
Adventure training in the Army National Guard. When we move fast. When we train hard. If you're up to the challenge, we'll make it worth your while. Call 1-800-GO-GUARD.
I have today signed an executive order providing for the establishment of a Peace Corps.
For 35 years, Peace Corps volunteers around the world have been helping people to help themselves. And for all they put in, they come back with something even greater, a commitment to service and solving problems right here at home. Peace Corps, for 35 years, changing America and changing the world.
Governor Frank Keating's airplane purchase is being investigated. A special legislative committee has uncovered what seems to be, or what Senate President pro tempore Stratton Taylor says could be the tip of a very large iceberg. Republican calls for the investigation to be disbanded were criticized by Taylor. Representative Bill Settle and Senator Bill Mickle said evidence so far suggests serious problems with the purchase of the $2.9 million airplane. The Pottawatomie County Republican Party urges the state party to censor Governor Frank Keating. The county-approved resolution says that Keating has consistently neglected the needs of the county's electorate in his recent political appointments. The issue is to be taken up at the State Republican Convention April 26th.
Well, the Moreland police has arrested a man suspected of fatally shooting a welder and wounding another man. Art Richmond had been secluded in his home for more than a day before giving up without a struggle. The welder's truck had been stuck in the mud outside Richmond's home when they were shot. If you or your children are allergic to food items, this next story is for you. Linda Champoff has information on more food allergies.
Whoa, Sam.
Hey, Sam, you want to show them how your cars go down?
I can do this. Maybe this big.
He started out in the 95th percentile, he went down to the 50th, and then he finally went down to the 25th percentile in weight. So that's why we really started to get concerned. That, on top of the fact that he wasn't acting right. He looked pale, he looked tired all the time in the afternoon.
It was very frustrating because we just didn't know when he was going to outgrow it or what was going to happen. We were at our wits' end. Still got your tongue? Very good. I can see the china.
This morning his legs looked fine. Huh? No? Okay. Okay, now we're going to listen to your...
We'll do control. Okay. You're a sport.
You're a super guy.
3 more. Here's the last one. 8. Okay.
How high can you count?
House Bill 1213 is receiving heavy criticism today. The bill proposes truth in sentencing and a community corrections program to give nonviolent offenders a chance to reform. Oklahoma Senator Mike Fair accuses the bill's authors of reviving the old practice of shortening sentences and releasing inmates when prisons are too full. Senator Cal Hobson, one of the bill's authors, said that he doesn't expect 1213 to allow violent, dangerous offenders to go back on the street. The bill moves to the Oklahoma Senate next week.
The Tulsa judge has now postponed a trial of 2 bomb suspects. U.S. District Judge Michael Burridge delayed the trial for Carol Howe and James Dobson V. House Jr. from May 19th to July the 21st. The defendants are charged with a December 11th bomb threat, saying that 15 U.S. cities would be bombed beginning December the 15th. The delay is to give Howe's counsel adequate time to prepare. A former Oklahoma inmate is on trial for murder he committed in a federal prison. David Paul Hammer is facing the death penalty for killing his cellmate in a Pennsylvania prison. Hammer is serving sentences totaling over 1,200 years for various Oklahoma crimes.
Well, the past few days, it sure doesn't feel like spring.
It sure doesn't. Kyle Beatty is now in the Weather Center. He's preparing his forecast to have your complete weather uplook when we come back.
$1,200 for the band? Nobody even danced.
10 years ago, Jim Pratt only had a 60% chance of surviving his cancer.
$250 for the limo? Did you see a limo?
But thanks to 80 years of cancer research,
did you see how happy she was?
he now has more important things to worry about.
I wouldn't have missed it.
The American Cancer Society. We offer hope.
Maybe you have what it takes to be one of us. The few, the proud,
Well, Chris, it's a dreary day outside. It got quite a thunderstorm last night.
It sure is. Kyle, please tell me there's no snow.
Looks like we could see a little bit of snow as we move into tonight, but I don't think we'll see anything accumulating, maybe just a flurry or two, so nothing too serious. Currently outside we have a temperature of 37 degrees. Humidity is fairly high at 92%. Pressure is rising, and the winds are out of the northwest at 24 miles an hour and gusting up to 31. So there is a wind chill out there. It's about right around 10 for our wind chill right now. And our normal highs for today, 70 degrees. We won't be anywhere near that. In fact, right now we're below the normal low by about 10 degrees. Records 90 and 29. We shouldn't get down to that 29. We should stay above that by about 10. And your sunset tonight is at 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and take a look at the national satellite picture, and I'll show you the storm system that moved out of our area. Earlier today, we had or actually last night, we had this low pressure system. This satellite picture is a little old. I have to apologize for that. We couldn't get any newer data, but this front that's shown here has already sagged around the Dallas and Little Rock area, so it's already moved through our area, but it's giving us a lot of cloud cover and some cooler temperatures. Across the state right now, we're seeing temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s, and so it's definitely cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at those state highs. We have a 37 for a high today in Gage. In fact, these aren't the actual recorded highs. These will be the afternoon highs. The highs were recorded earlier this morning before the cold front moved through. 37 today in Gage, Norman here, 38, and a little warmer out to the east, 43 in McAllister. As we move into tonight, temperatures will drop below freezing for much of the state. 25, the coolest spot in Gage, 30 here in Norman, and 33 in McAllister. That'll be the only spot in the state above freezing overnight. Let's go ahead and take a look at the specific forecast for today. We can expect very cold today. The afternoon high is 38, and the winds will be fairly breezy, giving us a wind chill in the teens for most of today. As we move into tonight, dropping below freezing, and a chance of a little bit of rain, some light snow, but only a flurry probably. So nothing accumulating. Winds out of the north, 10 to 15. And the next 3 days don't warm up all that much. We'll see a high Saturday of about 39. Sunday, a little bit of a warming, but still fairly cool with 48. And Monday, we start a little bit of heat being advected into the area, but the 58 for high. We shouldn't get back into the normal highs, though, until probably about Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So a fairly nasty weekend, a good weekend to study.
Thanks, Kyle. It looks like we have something to look forward to.
Well, the bad weather's taking its toll all across the country. We'll have a delay on a missing military plane and all your national news when we return.
Heart disease will kill 500,000 people this year. They won't be selected at random.
I'm out here every week talking to people about sex. My message is simple. If you're gonna have sex, a latex condom used consistently and correctly could help prevent the spread of HIV and other STDs. People out there gotta understand. That's why I'll go anywhere to talk about latex condoms. Even into your living room.
My older sister has really been depressed for weeks.
His wife died a year ago, and my brother's still not sleeping.
She cries all the time.
Now that my husband's not working, he feels worthless.
My friend lost her appetite.
He used to be so active, and now he won't even play cards.
Depression is not a normal part of aging. It's a serious illness. For free print information on helping an older person who's depressed, call 1-800-421-4211.
If you sometimes forget things, and it's happening more often, it's not necessarily your age. But it never hurts to be sure. There are people who can help. If you want to learn more about forgetfulness, we'll send you a free booklet. Call 1-800-438-4380. Don't forget.
The search for a missing plane is on hold today in Colorado's high country. High winds and freezing temperatures forced the Civil Air Patrol to suspend the search. Captain Craig Button and his A-10 Thunderbolt were last spotted on radar more than a week ago. Major Frank Gose of Civil Air Patrol says he has not given up hope that Button is still alive. The president will no longer be able to veto specific items from bills passed by Congress. U.S. District Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson overturned the Line Item Veto Act Thursday. He says the law contradicts basic tenets of the Constitution. The law became effective January 1st, but President Clinton has not used it.
A small Minnesota community is mourning the loss of 4 elementary school children today. The children died yesterday when a gravel truck ran a stop sign and slammed into the side of the bus. The truck driver also died in the crash. In Beaumont, California, 10-year-old Anthony Martinez is still missing after a week-long search. The boy was abducted by a man armed with a knife who forced him into his pickup truck while Martinez was playing in an alley behind his apartment building. Thursday, FBI agents and local police officers continued their search in the difficult terrain surrounding the small desert town. The boy's classmate released over 1,000 balloons into the air, each with information about the abduction attack. The local city council passed a resolution urging residents to leave their porch lights on as a symbol of hope for Anthony's return.
The sole suspect in the murder of Ennis Cosby is the only person not identified by a witness in a lineup. KCAL-TV in Los Angeles says the witness said 5 of the 6 men in the lineup resemble the killer. The only one she didn't recognize is Michael Markazev. Markazev is charged in the shooting. JonBenet Ramsey's mother will be providing a 4th handwriting sample. Authorities investigating the 6-year-old beauty queen's death wouldn't say why they asked Patsy Ramsey for an additional sample. Boulder District Attorney Alex Hunter says requests for handwriting from a number of different people.
Well, no one really knows where the stock market is headed today, but with the Dow on a roller coaster ride, many individual investors are looking for stocks that will hold up no matter what the Dow does. In today's edition of Your Money, Sean Caleb talks to some professional investors to find out which strategies and stocks they think will provide the smoothest ride during the turbulent times.
They led the movements for social rights and environmental awareness. They fought passionately over the Vietnam War. But the can-do generation of baby boomers is saying can't do when it comes to retirement planning.
One of the great paradoxes of this is here's this generation that's made this big difference in the world. When it comes to themselves, they feel overwhelmed.
New research on baby boomers conducted by Long Island University in conjunction with Scudder, Stevens, and Clark finds most boomers worried about their retirement, and justifiably so. The median assets in baby boomers' retirement plans is only $35,000. 58% say they have no idea how much money they'll need for retirement. 53% are more likely to spend than save, and nearly half tap into savings and investments to meet expenses. Boomers are caught up in gratifications of the present and anxious about the future.
They cannot feel in control of the Herculean types of levels that the financial industry makes them feel that they have to save. $750,000, $1 million. Many boomers feel that they cannot achieve that type of level, and so they turn off to the message and don't do anything.
One tip: when paying bills, start by putting money toward retirement, be it $100 or $200 a month, before meeting other expenses.
The first step is take control of it. Look at how much they're saving. Look at how much that will generate over time in terms of growth, and compare that to the amount of money they need. In many cases, people are in fine shape, but in most cases, they're not. And it's not too late to take action.
As daunting a task as it may appear, it's a lot easier to save money than it is to save the world. That's Your Money. Rhonda Schaffler, CNN Financial News, New York.
Pete Peterson, a former fighter pilot, will be the first post-war ambassador to Vietnam. Among his tasks in Vietnam will be to take steps to get an accounting of Americans still missing from the war. During the war, Peterson was imprisoned and tortured in Vietnam for 6 years. James Earl Ray's lawyers asked a judge for permission to test the rifle believed to kill Martin Luther King Jr. The lawyers plan to use new sophisticated tests on the weapon. Their effort is to find evidence that would allow Ray to receive a new trial.
Well, 85 years after the Titanic sank, new findings clashes with popular opinions on how the ocean liner went down. Shipwreck investigator Paul Mathis says that an iceberg sank the cruise ship with 6 relatively small punctures, not a 300-foot gash as previously thought. Mathis used high-tech sonar equipment to detect the extent of the damage to the ship's hull. Well, still to come on Norman News, some little ones in New York are doing more than taking their first step. They're doing the 2-step.
Some dancing babies are making an early premiere on Broadway. Stay tuned.
It makes life safer to have rules.
Yeah, if you didn't have rules, someone would get hurt. You shouldn't make noise on the bus because sometimes the bus driver, he needs his ears to hear everything.
Like when you have to stop by the train tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't stay too close to the curb, otherwise you could get flattened or something.
You should walk at least 10 feet away from the bus so you can see the driver and the driver can see you.
It's very cool to follow the rules.
This is Cody. Cody was born with PKU, an inherited disease that causes mental retardation. But using a test developed by a March of Dimes researcher, this disease can be identified shortly after birth. And through a special diet, the tragic effects of PKU can be avoided. Which is why Cody is the perfectly normal 4-year-old you see here.
Cody?
Please, join our campaign for healthier babies.
Every child has a mother, a father, a name. Every child has a language and something to say. Every child has a gift, a laugh, a dream. In our world, there are millions of children, and every child needs medicine, clean water, nutrition, education. UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, because every child is our child.
These women are prisoners, but instead of gray fences and bars, they're surrounded by green trees and open spaces. As part of the Salvation Army's Almost Home program, small groups of low-risk inmates are brought to a Salvation Army summer camp, where they can get reacquainted with their children through counseling, crafts, games, and just spending time together. And after 14 years of the program, and more than 90% of the women returning to their families instead of a life of crime, you might say we've helped these prisoners find the perfect escape.
Well, finally tonight, we have all heard about dancing hippos and dancing clowns for entertainment. But what about dancing babies? Jeannie Moss tells us about a New York dance performance where the babies take the stage.
A Broadway theater smash reviews.
Fabulous. I thought it was so great.
But the performers acted like a bunch of babies. Well, of course they acted like babies. They are babies. And from the moment they're revealed on stage, the audience can't stop oohing and awing and laughing. Rock Me Mama, the piece is called. And like all performers, babies have to rehearse, though normally dancers don't practice while clutching a security blanket or munching on a snack. Lest you think these babies are just out there bouncing around, this is a piece choreographed with the intensity of the Super Bowl.
So Paula's going to go like this, you guys are going to go like this.
Choreographer Jody Oberfelder also wrote the lyrics to Rock Me Mama, lyrics about the bond between mother and child.
You are my chain, you are my ball, you are the sweetest yoke of all.
But do the adult dancers ever drop the ball?
No baby was ever dropped? No.
Though they do tend to fall for one another. But at least when she finally cried, it wasn't over a bad review.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Have a great weekend.